Hello, denizens! Today, I'm going to be talking about cameras. Specifically, the rumored Panasonic GH6, the long-awaited successor to the groundbreaking, revolutionary GH5. One rumor has it that there will no longer be a G9, and the Micro Four Thirds Lumix high-end will be represented solely by the GH6. I don't have any issues with that. Micro Four Thirds is in a weird position of having had much of its digital advantages usurped by the new crop of full-frame cameras that can do the video things that made the GH5 so legendary amongst indie shooters. And now the Sony A1, the God camera, has been announced, and it looks to be an extraordinary camera that will do pretty much everything, and for only $6,500 US. It should. Suddenly, the Canon R5 for $3,900 seems like a bargain. Still, for my purposes, the $1,100 Panasonic G9 does everything I need. I'm fairly sanguine about all this, as I had no problem creating compelling films with a 16mm Bolex with Cooke lenses and a wind that gave me 2 minutes of shooting. The Sony A1 will give you at least an hour at 8K. I sure hope it has a write better dialogue button, but I'm not here to crap on Sony. It looks like a hit, but before you send in your purchase order, hear me out. So let's talk about this new GH6. I have no idea what its specs are. I have not watched any rumor videos, but I'm going to offer Panasonic the benefit of my advice and tell them what the GH6 needs to be. I hope you're listening, Panasonic. It'll be worth it. The GH4 and the GH5 were watershed cameras, but there are concerns about Micro Four Thirds relevance, even though M43 literally invented the interchangeable lens mirrorless category. Here's the pitch. The GH6 has to bring full smartphone computational photography to a proper camera experience. That's pretty much it. Every freaking thing the iPhone, Pixel, and Galaxy can do, Panasonic has got to rip all that shit off and stuff it into a real camera. There must be a way to stack M43 sensors like they do in smartphones. That's how smartphones overcome the limitations of their tiny size. They take a dozen pictures and then mash them all together for improved pixel density and better low-light performance. Look what the smartphones have done with their shitty tiny sensors. Think of what a GH6 with full computational photography could do. Oh, the traditionalists will poo-poo it. Heck, there are tens of thousands of Nikon D750 owners who would rather die than move to a mirrorless camera. Fine. We'll include your camera and the black strap with the bright yellow logo in with your grave goods. We all know that it will be like opening Pandora's box. We know that it will infect all cameras, but we also know intrinsically that it's going to happen. We just don't know which manufacturer is going to license Google's camera code and go for it. But if you think about it and imagine the fact that you can shoot in 4K-ish on all the flagship smartphones, and Apple even lets you shoot something they call RAW on a sensor that is about 7 millimeters across, whereas Micro Four Thirds is 17 millimeter. When you consider the spectacular advances smartphones have made, don't you think a sensor that has more than 4 times the area would yield spectacular results? It would mean that the camera manufacturers would have to abandon their weird proprietary operating systems and maybe adopt Android. But it would also kill off the mad rush to these stupid full-frame cameras. An M43 sensor supported by a machine learning chip would make full-frame obsolete. Oh, and what about the better bokeh full-frame offers? Who cares? Just dial it in. Multi-point focus pulling controlled by your phone, well, easy. You would not need more than the size of a Micro Four Thirds sensor, and besides, the computational horsepower required to provide full-frame sensors, all the bells and whistles that smartphones offer, would be prohibitive, at least for now. Heck, maybe the M43 sensor is too big. I don't know. But for sure, Panasonic knows. All the camera manufacturers know. They don't want to add computational photography because it dirties their reputation as real cameras, and they will be royally pissed off at the first traditional camera company that does it. Now, Panasonic is not a traditional camera company. They've been in the video business for a long time, which is what let them innovate in the hybrid digital camera market, which makes them well positioned to just say, to hell with it, we're going all in with computational photography. Let the bloodbath begin. There you go. Not a prediction, but my prognostication as to what the GH6 has to have. I'm sure they could do all the regular stuff like up the megapixels and give us 6K resolution, improve the autofocus, and while I welcome that, it's not going to be enough. The GH5 opened a genie's lamp full of video possibilities like 5 years ago that we never had in this form factor and price. Panasonic has to do it again, to go where no camera manufacturer has gone before and bring computational photography to a real digital camera. I know the purists will freak out, but they have no choice. What do you think? Are you a purist? Do you think smartphone tech is the future for all digital photography? I'd love to hear your opinions. So long, denizens.